Welcome back to the Level Up Life Muscle and Mindset Mastery. Today's guest, someone who understands discipline at the deepest level because he's lived it under fire. We're joined today by Jake Fink, U.S. Army veteran who served in Afghanistan, where he not only operated in high-stress combat zones, but also worked alongside military dogs, forging trust in environments where every decision mattered. Now Jake's brought that same leadership, precision, and purpose back home to Midland. As the owner of Canine Optimal Training Solutions, his mission, training dogs and helping everyday people build the same kind of loyalty, structure, and connection that he relied on overseas. I've got Waz here co-hosting as we dive into Jake's story from war zones to working dogs, from serving his country to serving his community. This episode's about more than just training. It's about character, courage, and choosing your mission even after the uniform comes off. Let's get into it. Welcome, Jake. Thank you. Thank you for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
So I'm intrigued. I want to get right into it. Your service in Afghanistan, man. I've heard a lot of stories.
Yeah.
What was that like?
I feel like everybody's experience is kind of different, right? I've talked to guys that have been there, and it depends where you're at, when you were there, who you were with, what you did, right? It's kind of weird being the position I got in while I was there. So I joined the Army pretty young. I left for basic training on my 18th birthday. I joined to be an infantryman. That's what I thought I was going to be. That's what I wanted to do. Got to my unit in October. 9 months later, we were supposed to deploy to Afghanistan. We knew that going in. About 2 months before that, about 3 months before that, I guess, before the deployment, my squad leader pulls me aside one day and he's like, "Hey, you're going to go be a dog handler." I laughed. I'm like, "Yeah, funny joke, dude. Like, I'm an infantry guy. MPs are dog handlers. I don't know what you're talking about." So a couple weeks go by. Don't hear anything about it, right? I don't think much. I remember one morning we're doing PT. We got done with this run, and I'm finishing up the run. It might have even been a PT test, but I remember walking back to my car. My commander and my first sergeant walk up. My commander, "Oh, hey, Fink, you ready to go to dog handler school?" And keep in mind, I'm 18-year-old private, right? I looked at him. I'm like, "What?" And he's like, "Well, didn't they tell you?" And I was like, "Yeah, I thought he was fucking joking, though, right?" And so legitimately, I was going to this dog handler school, apparently. So I left. I spent 2 months in a handler school. They selected 20 of us from our brigade to go. How they selected us, I have no idea. 8 of us passed, finished. We spent 4 weeks in a little town called Peru, Indiana. All I remember about Peru is you drive in, and I remember seeing this giant billboard that said circus capital of America or something, which I don't know why. It was a nothing town.
Right.
Think Midland small, think significantly smaller. I don't know that they had a stoplight. It was a tiny town.
Mm-hmm.
So spent 4 weeks there, 4 weeks down in Yuma, Arizona. It was hot. And then we deployed right from Yuma to overseas. So I was part of this new program called the Tactical Explosive Detection Dog program. Basically, the program doesn't exist anymore, probably for a lot of reasons. I spent my year in Afghanistan doing different missions, patrols, basically anything we could get a dog into, we were doing it.
So you were front lines.
Yep.
Like explosive detection,
Yep.
looking for IEDs,
Yeah, so
that type of stuff.
a lot of patrols I spent, basically I would be in front of the patrol. My job was I was looking for the bombs in front of us, find them. Theoretically, nobody behind me gets blown up, right? That's kind of the big deal of it all. So some of it was what we called cordon and searches, where basically we're like we had a couple where we're like, "Hey, this is the target building. Pretty sure there's some IED stuff there, or weapons caches, but we're going to search this entire block." So you'd come in with the dog and just search. Super glad to do it.
That's like door to door, kind of.
Yeah, with a little intensity.
Yeah.
I mean,
not like knock knock.
No,
Hey.
yeah. It was depending who you were with, kind of dictated how you were doing it.
Mhm.
Couple of units were a little more like we'd show up daytime, looked like a regular patrol that we were just patrolling through the village, and then all of a sudden, you're calling everybody out to the street. You're pulling everybody out of their house. You're separating, women and children from military-aged men. Those guys would go get questioned by other people. And then I'm in with a team and I'm searching for bombs. Couple other ones where you went in at night and you were just hitting doors really hard.
Mm-hmm.
It was fun. 18, 19-year-old joined the Army to do that. So minus the dog was a new thing for me still, but it was wild. I mean, I look back at some of it. One, like, it was a lot of responsibility for 18, 19-year-old kid, right?
Mm-hmm.
If I messed up, that would mean my friends were dead. Even on times I'd go out with missions with guys I'd never met, that means they're dead.
But there's a brotherhood to it too when you're in the service, right?
Yeah.
So like, even if you don't know this guy, you just met him, it's still like, that's my brother.
Yeah, and I mean, it's some of that. Part of it's that. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say like I liked everybody I served with. I mean, there was some people I served with that were not great people.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, you didn't want to be like, what if they got family at home? You want to be the reason that they don't get to go home and see that family again. Right. That always sucks.
It's a lot of responsibility anyway on an 18-year-old.
Yeah, right. Like, and that was, I mean, again, I look back and I'm like, that was way more than I should have had. I grew up really fast because of it.
Mm-hmm.
I laugh because still today, I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm definitely immature in my own ways, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I still look like there's people that are always like, oh man, you're way more mature than, your age. And I'm like, well, I had to grow up really quick,
Mm-hmm.
right? I mean, there was times where I remember I'd go out on a patrol with my guys that are like this is my platoon that I was like with before we deployed, right? So these are like friends of mine that I've trained with. I'd go on a patrol with them. I'd come back to the base, and we lived on this, we call it a cop. There's like 30 of us that lived there out in the middle of the mountains. Come back, and first sergeant would be like, hey, pack your stuff. And another unit would show up, pick me up, be gone for a week with them doing stuff. So I was always bouncing around, but then there'd be times I'd have to fly back to a bigger base to train with our trainer. And man, you think it'd be easy, right? You go to an airport, you get on a plane, and there you go. Oh no. I'm on a helicopter to a big air base, and then I have to find my own ride to this other base. So hey, is anybody going here? Are there any flights going here? Are there any choppers going there? 19-year-old private. One, they don't take private serious, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
So you'd try to like talk your way into flights sometimes. Every once in a while, you'd be like, hey, you guys flying over this spot? Yeah. Can I hitch a ride? Can you just stop there and let me out real quick?
Now, do you have the dog with you?
Yep.
So you had one dog you worked with,
Yeah,
right?
yep. Yeah,
Okay.
so I worked, it was my dog Shira. So she was a Dutch Shepherd, and most people aren't familiar with the Dutch Shepherd. They're, if you know what a Belgian Malinois is, very similar, but they're brindle in color. But so, I mean, I'm 18, 19-year-old kid with a dog hooked to me and a bunch of gear. And I'm like, yeah, I just need to go here. Like, it was interesting. A couple times I slept at an airfield. I got removed from a flight once because a general needed it. And then I got lucky and he let me on it so they could drop me off. He took the bird and then found out that here I was a dog handler getting booted. And he asked where I was going, told him, and went and talked to his guys. Next thing you know, he's like, you're riding with us.
That's cool.
They stopped at the place I needed to go, let me out, went on my way and did my thing. And it was kind of cool. I mean, I look back, like, I was in the Army for 4 years, and my favorite time in the Army was when I was deployed. A lot of it was simple. You get up, you do your job. You either come home or you don't.
Yep.
So it was simple, not an extra bullshit that you deal with sometimes.
Mm-hmm. So I guess let's backtrack a little bit. What made you want to enlist? Was there an event or?
Oh man.
Because I remember for me, it was like I was this close to enlisting.
Yep.
And it was right around 9/11 had happened. I was 16 when that happened, and then like there's the war starting. So a bunch of people my age were like gung ho about it, and that's where like my drug use kind of was starting to come up. So
Yeah.
I didn't end up doing it, but
yeah, it was honestly as far back as I can remember as a kid. I was playing G.I. Joes. I watched the G.I. Joe cartoon. I loved war movies as a kid, right? You look at like Black Hawk Down, Platoon, Saving Private Ryan. Like these are all movies that I grew up watching that, right? My dad was in the Air Force. My grandpa was in the Navy, but it was always kind of in my idea that I wanted to do it. And I remember, and I mean, I was really young when 9/11 happened, right? I was in 4th grade.
Right.
I remember when it happened though. And I remember being in my classroom, our teacher getting a phone call from her daughter, turning this TV on and watching the second plane hit. And I'm like, what's going on? This is crazy. Like, this is insane. And I always tell everybody like this, when the second plane hit, right, that's when we knew it was a terrorist attack, right? First plane hit, you didn't think much.
Right.
Second plane, that's when like, now
we're being attacked.
Someone's after us, right? So that kind of made me double down on it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll say like after that, I mean, even as young as I was, older I got, the more I was like, I'm gonna go over there. And I remember getting into like middle school early, like maybe freshman year even. I was like, man, what if this war's over before I can enlist? Right? Like, I don't want to miss this.
Right.
And yeah, so I did. At 17, I signed my contract. I did what they call a delayed enlistment. Signed my contract. After I graduated, I was gone. Right, and yeah, 18th birthday, I was on a plane to Georgia. Worst 18th birthday of my life. I tell people like my 18th birthday, I go to basic training. My 21st birthday, I was in Southern California, in the field, out in the desert, and didn't get to drink. It was awful.
Yeah.
I'll never forget we had Bradley's during my 21st birthday, and I'll never forget. We're all sitting there just kind of hanging out between running these training missions, and over the radio, my buddy AJ comes on, kid from Minnesota, which he's just, if you talk to him, you'd have no idea this kid's probably seen the shit that he's seen, right? He's a super good dude. Starts singing me happy birthday over the radio like a jackass. Like I'll never forget thinking, you motherfucker, like here you are, and diming me out to everybody that can hear the radio. Mm-hmm. So the whole company, at least, if not more. Here he is singing happy birthday to me over the radio on my 21st birthday. Thought it was hilarious though. But yeah, so I mean, early on in life, right? Like I knew I was going to do it, but it was weird because like I got friends that like we both grew up talking about doing it, and then I did it. I mean, he didn't, and I don't knock him for any of that by any stretch of the means, but yeah, it was, I don't know. I just always felt that calling, I guess. And I mean, I was talking to my brother the other night about it, even with everything going on now today, and all the discussions of what might, what could, and I'd be lying if I sat here and said there's not that part of you that's like, I want to go again. Like I could go again.
Right.
I'm a lot more beat up now. But there's always that draw. Like, I don't feel like I look back and I mean, I definitely did a lot in Afghanistan, but I don't feel like I did enough sometimes. And then we watched, like, I mean, you watch it fall the way it did, like that hurt. I got a phone call from AJ, like right after we left Afghanistan for good. Right. Me and him had like a 2-hour conversation. I mean, it was kick to the gut. And I lost friends there. I've gave up my youth there. And then to watch it for what feels like nothing is kind of a kick to the gut sometimes. So there's part of me that's like, I could get a chance to go round 2.
Right.
Don't know that I would. I mean, I got 4 kids now and a wife to think about and a business to run, but
Yeah.
Whole bunch of dogs.
yeah, right. Yeah, there's a whole lot more to it. Yeah, and I'm about to pick a puppy up on Sunday. My wife's already real happy about that. So.
I might have heard about that a little bit.
We did too, because you dog sit,
Yeah.
train,
Yep.
you know our pups.
Yep.
So we heard about so you have 2 Belgian?
Yep. Yeah, we got 2 Belgians right now and then a Husky.
Yeah. And you're getting a 3rd Belgian?
Dutch Shepherd.
Dutch Shepherd.
Yep.
Okay.
So
So,
this would be-
similar, but
Yep.
the brindle. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jess is not as excited. I am excited.
4 kids, 4 dogs.
Yeah,
right?
why not?
Even numbers.
It's good.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I look back, I mean, everything, I certainly don't regret my time in the Army. It made me who I am, for better or for worse. I laugh like, you know, I was joking. I mean, you guys both met Jess, my wife, and, you know, we got married super young while I was in the Army. Literally the day after she turned 18, that's when we got married.
Right.
And the shit she's been through because of it is just insane, right? I mean, at 18 years old, she moved out to Colorado on her own. I was in the field when she moved out there, and then within a couple months, I was gone to Afghanistan. She had to figure it out on her own at 18 years old across the, you know, and I get it, like kids go to college, but this is different.
Oh, yeah.
You're on your own, you know, the only person you knew is gone.
Mm-hmm.
So
And
it was-
here you guys are still killing it.
I know,
Right?
yeah.
Like-
Yeah. It's been, I mean, I'm not, you know, sit here and say it's been this easy thing. Like, you guys are married, you know,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
it's bumpy sometimes, it gets there,
Yep.
but yeah, I look back and we've been married for almost 14 and a half years.
It's awesome.
No,
Yeah.
it's insane. It's weird to look back and think like, holy cow, and my oldest kid's about to be 13, like teenager. I don't even know what to do. I feel like I'm a kid sometimes still.
Right.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, that never goes away.
Yeah.
I mean, I know your problems with, you know, your body
Oh, yeah.
and that same thing, but anywhere in the day. And I mean, not in order. I'm anywhere from 14 to 80. It depends on what point of the day.
Yeah.
And the gym helps that.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But I mean, there's still them points where it's like, whoa. And the dumb stuff. And I think a lot of that would contribute to being guys.
Oh.
I wanted to be military, and then similar to Adam, the drugs and the drinking and everything. And I was too selfish at that point. And I actually was with my wife 9/11 and still young, but I was way too selfish. Like, I can't give this up. I mean, I don't think whoever made my whiskey and Anheuser-Busch would have survived had I made a selfish decision like that.
Yeah.
Right. And I mean, it's a shame to say now, but that was my reality.
Yeah, I mean, I always tell people, like, I would never knock somebody for not going. And, like, even, like, my brother, you know, he joined the Guard, and I've talked to him a few times, and, you know, he's talked about, like, there's almost that, like, feeling of that he has that same draw sometimes. And, you know, I did tell him the other day, like, and I've said it before to people, I would go back 100 times over if it meant somebody else didn't have to. There's lines you cross that you can't ever uncross, right? And it's easier, in my opinion, for somebody like me that's already done it. I already live with it. Easier for me to do it again than somebody else to ruin their life for it. That's where I'm really hoping everything going on right now just simmers down, because
Yeah. Scary situation.
it
everything.
is terrifying, unfortunately. And I mean, but it's one of those things. I mean, that draw, I think it's always going to be there, right? I mean, and part of it is like, it's a service thing. I was very patriotic growing up as a kid, still very patriotic. I love this country. I mean, again, I gave up, you know, my youth for this country in a sense, mentally, especially, and physically. You guys both know my back is trashed, right?
Mhm.
I'm almost I'll be 33 on Sunday, and my back is just gone. I'm going to have surgery at some point. It's a guarantee, basically. It's just how long can we push it off for, type of thing.
Yep.
But at the same time, I mean, I can't sit here and say I didn't have fun overseas. Of course I had fun. I mean, we did some stupid shit. Like there's some stories that are, I'm not going to sit here and say we were great people, because we were not. Like
And then you go through the basic stuff, and it kind of hardens you, I'm assuming.
real quick.
Yeah.
I'll say, I mean, man, I remember getting to basic training and went down to Fort Benning, Georgia. It was June. It was hot. Humid. Yeah, right. Like,
Oz loves the hot.
oh, dude. You like got up.
make me
I remember
dig
getting
too
out of the shower just to sweat, right? Like, I'd see guys take hot showers. I'm like, are you a psychopath? Like, I want a little bit of refreshment here. And I remember getting there. It was later. At that point, you'd been up for almost 24 hours already. You sit through like this little briefing thing. They're going through your stuff, making sure you don't have shit you're not supposed to have, guns, knives, shit like that, right? It ain't like they're nice about any of this, right? Like, they're already screaming at you and like doing everything they can to just rip you apart. And you get to this place called 30th AG. I'm going to tell you, my least favorite part of basic training, 30th AG. You weren't even downrange training yet. This is just the in processing. It was fucking hell. It sucked. It was a mental, it was just a mental, for lack of better terms, fuck fest. I mean, they were there to just mentally destroy you.
Well, so I don't know if you know, this isn't military boot camp, but I ended up in Michigan's SAI, Special Alternative Incarceration Boot Camp, and like you're saying, it was a lot of this. It was 100% that there. I remember this one night. I was there in January, and the room I was in, we had a little hole in the glass.
Okay. Yep.
And snow was coming in. So we had snow on our floor, and it was freezing. The corporal, the corporal from second shift, he's always walking around, and he's got pills in his cargo pockets, jingling around, and he's saying he's crazy all the time, and he's got to take his pills or he's gonna really hurt us, you know.
So is the corporal like somebody that just works there, or is it like another?
Yeah, it's one of the staff.
Okay.
So he's like, it's really cold out tonight, guys. I know the unit's really cold. You guys can put on your thermals, because we had whitey tighties.
Yeah.
And we had to tuck our white t-shirt into the whitey tighties. So that's what we had to sleep in. And of course we had our canteens full of water that we had to chug right before bed. So then everybody's, you hear people going to the bathroom all night.
Oh, of course. Yeah. I mean,
then third shift comes in. We're all in our thermals because this guy tells us to. Well, third shift comes in, and he's Austrian, so he sounds like Arnold.
Change of plans, boys.
And he's yelling, attempted escape, get out online, take your thermals off. We're getting PT'd at like 1 o'clock in the morning. So, that, and then just, there were times they made this one kid hug a pole for 4 hours in the unit, saying, trainee, put the goggles on. No, you put the goggles on, because that was the exchange between one of the guards. And so, yeah. I don't know if it's anything.
There is some similarities for sure. I mean, 30th AG was a little different because a lot of it was like, so it's all your in processing, right? Your haircut, your you want to talk about shots, your shots. You walk in a line, I remember there's a shot, I think it's the penicillin shot, but we always called it the peanut butter shot. It's right in your ass cheek. Good luck sitting down after. That's real fun. And then you walk in this, like, through this room in this line, and you're stopping at all these stations. There's people on each side. You just shoulders, right? And then the entire day after that's classroom stuff where you have to sit down. So you're sitting there like,
Everybody.
Yeah, right. No one wants to. The only guys that didn't have to get it were the guys allergic to penicillin. You're thinking, you mother, I wish I was allergic to penicillin right now. So that's basically the entire in-processing. Well, the first like 72 hours, you didn't sleep.
Mm-hmm.
Because by the time we got there, you were up for 24 hours. And then by the time we got to like our bunk situation, you had to shave and be back downstairs for formation. And I remember like learning to fall asleep in formation at that point. You're just like dozed off, right? And
Catch a couple seconds.
Yeah, right. You take what you can get.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, that almost broke me. It was awful. I was calling my recruiter. I was like, bro, get me the hell out of here. Like, I'm done. Nope, I don't want to do this. Like, this sucks. And I'll never forget. So finally, it's like you're there for, I don't know, I want to say it was like 4 days. I honestly don't remember, though. And finally, they're like, hey, you're going to this unit, right, for basic. So I got Delta 119. And we're sitting out there. These buses pull up these new drill sergeants, because all of this, like, they're all drill sergeants, right? But like these are like your drill sergeants. And these guys get off. We're in formation. I'll never forget this. We're all standing in these like formations, getting ready to leave for our, like, they call it downrange, but like to go to like your basic training company. And this drill sergeant comes up to the front and he's like, if you don't want to be here, here's your last chance to get out. Raise your hand. And I'm sitting here thinking, like, this is a fucking trick.
Mm-hmm.
No way am I raising my hand, because I know what's going to happen. You raise your hand, they're going to put you on a different bus. You're going to take the long route there, but you're going to get there, right? That's my thought. Of course, I see a couple hands go. I'm like, oh, man, you guys are nuts.
Mm-hmm.
We get on our bus or whatever. Never saw those kids again. Well, I shouldn't say that. Didn't see those kids downrange, though. I'm like, oh, this is weird. Maybe they really did send them back. Like, that's odd. At this point, I was kind of like mentally, I'd gotten a little bit of sleep. I had caught back up, and I was recharged. And then they have, you get to your company. It's called a shark attack. I don't know if they do them or not anymore. I've heard they didn't, but smoke grenades, screaming in your face, doing everything they can to just amp up the panic. And then they have all your bags laid out, and they give you like, I don't know if it's 30 seconds. I don't remember the time, but like, you got to go get your bags. It's an impossible amount of time, by the way, to dig through the 200 plus bags there to find your bag. Good luck. And time's up. Get back to the line. Oh, you don't have your bags? Doing push-ups, right? And in the Army, they have this, so, you have like the position of attention at ease. And then you have like parade, where it's like right face and you turn to the right. Well, they have half right face. Half right face means you're about to do some push-ups. Mm-hmm. And so it's half right face. And you're like, oh, fuck. We did that. I couldn't even tell you how many times. And I'm sitting there thinking, this is impossible. Like, you do this on purpose because you know damn well we got to do the push-ups. Because there's no way you're finding all your bags in there, right?
See,
like,
my brother-in-law was beat your face.
Oh, yeah, right.
And that was when I stole from him when my boys were little, asking stupid questions. Why? I'm like, if you're going to be stupid, you're going to be strong, boy.
Yep.
You'll have something positive to give this world.
When I got to 4th Infantry Division in Fort Carson, we played this game called Smart Joe, Strong Joe. So your Joes were like your privates and your like guys that were below your sergeants. You were Joe. You were called Joes. So we always played Smart Joe, Strong Joe. So if you had downtime, you'd be sitting there, and usually it was your specialists, and you're sitting there and they're grilling you on like random questions. Oh, what's the max effective range of an M4, and and some of them you're like, man, I don't remember any of this. Like, and if you were wrong, you got to do push-ups or whatever physical activity we deemed fit. I remember being on the receiving end of that when I got there. And boy, could I not wait to get back from my first deployment to play that game with the other Joes, with the new guys. Because it was like, it's such a weird system in the Army. You have your traditional rank structure, but there's like the hidden structure, if you will. Mm-hmm. So you have your Joes, which are your brand new guys. You have your Cherries. Those are guys that have never deployed. Your specialists, you have what's called the E4 Mafia. So I always explain the specialists are like these like weird in between guys. Sometimes they're team leaders, sometimes they're not. You're not a private. Most of you at that point, like when I was in, most of your specialists had probably done a combat tour, if not two. So everybody looked up to them. But they weren't sergeants either. So they weren't NCOs. They didn't have any like real power, but they had power. Like you didn't listen to them, you were going to get hurt. Like they'd show up, like E4 Mafia wasn't a joke. They'll show up to your room in the middle of the day or middle of the night, and you're getting your ass whooped. Like they don't care. These are a bunch of guys, and a lot of them, they're guys that probably could have been NCOs. They like to drink, they like to party, like they like to do stupid stuff. Mm-hmm. We had one who he got demoted once. He got put on what the heck is it called? He wasn't allowed to leave his barracks for whatever reason, right? And he went to go out one night, comes down, and we have this thing called CQ. So it's a sergeant and usually a private, basically on 24-hour duty, chucking people into, like, if somebody comes in the barracks that doesn't belong there, you're out or you got to sign in type of thing, right? So you're in charge of the barracks, if you will. In charge, we'll say. Kid comes down, and he's a little Pacific Islander guy. I won't say his name, but good dude. Comes down, they told him, you're not allowed to leave, man. He's, okay. Goes back up to his room, slams a bottle of tequila, comes down with a bat, beats the shit out of CQ, and then leaves. Oh, yeah. He was something different. Great dude overseas.
Yeah.
Stateside, probably not the guy.
Right.
Probably not a great soldier to have. Mm-hmm. I watched him get promoted to a team leader spot and then purposely get demoted so that he could have a saw back. He didn't want to be a team leader. Just wanted to be a saw gunner. I heard some crazy stories about him even previous to that. But yeah, he was always an interesting cat. Meet some interesting dudes, but yeah, it was. But so the E4, so it was like a weird structure because you had to listen to him. You didn't, but you did. And then you'd get like your privates that would like guys that got demoted from E4. But you look at them and they have a combat patch, and they have a CIB, a combat infantry badge. So you know that guy. Okay, he went overseas and did something. So you'd see them and nobody fucked with them because that's the guy that's like, oh, he got in some trouble. Yeah. Like, which means he's probably willing to, like, if you think you're gonna run him, good luck. So it's always interesting. There's like this hidden structures within there. I remember my first team leader, Sully. He was what's called a Mike Golf Master Gunner. So there's this school the Army has called Master Gunner School that is like extremely hard to pass, like book smart kind of thing. And you had to be an E5 to go, but most people were like staff sergeants or higher, right? So he was one of very few E5s. And because of that, demoting him was just not an option probably. So he took advantage of that sometimes. You'd see him every once in a while. He'd be walking around, hands in his pockets, which is a big no-no. Somebody'd say something, he'd be like, keep walking. Like I remember one time coming back from a patrol in Afghanistan, and we had this E8, I think it was E8, E7 maybe, come out, and it had been E7 because he's starting first class. We get back onto the base. He comes out. None of us have helmets on. And he's like, where's your Kevlar? Screaming at us. I'll never forget. Sully looks right at me and goes, my Golfs don't wear Kevlars, and just walks right past the guy like he didn't exist. The guy outranked him by 2 ranks. Sully just right past him. Guy couldn't say a word. And here we all are just following my team leader. Like, I'm just going to follow that guy. But it's interesting. There's just weird little hidden rules in there that.
Prison's a lot like that too.
Oh yeah.
Like different rules. Like you don't go to the bathroom between midnight and 5 a.m. because there's some weird stuff that happens in the bathrooms.
Fair enough.
You just don't go. So there's other like,
Oh yeah. I think
unwritten rules.
Yeah. And I mean, it don't matter whether it's baseball, right? The oil field was the same way.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
I was one where I wasn't promoting any higher, right? I mean, some was my attitude and behavior. Some was, hey, I know what jail's like. The last thing you're going to do is stick me in a Connex box for 12, 13 hours a day, begging somebody that there's only one, maybe two people that can relieve me so I can take a shit. And I'm in charge of 5 dumbasses and I can only see 2 at a time. At best, like not a chance. But my time there, like it was kind of that E4, like you were saying.
Yeah.
I mean, I taught a lot of people that all of a sudden I'm working for them. Now they're my driller or they're drilling somewhere else. But I remember walking them around the rig on the first day. They were getting initiated, right? They had the pleasure of getting a Waz nickname that stuck to them like glue. Just pray to God that it didn't stick.
Now let's take a moment to thank our sponsors, Pine Haven Assisted Living. At Pine Haven Assisted Living, they believe in making every resident feel at home. Nestled in the peaceful countryside of Hemlock, Michigan, they offer compassionate care in a family-like environment where residents can enjoy independence with the support they need. Registered nurse-owned and operated, their team provides personalized care, home-cooked meals, and a range of activities to ensure your loved ones continue to live a fulfilling life. They also have alpacas and llamas on site to enrich the lives of their residents. Experience the warmth and comfort of Pine Haven. Call them today at 989-295-6632. That's 989-295-6632. Or you can visit them on their website at pinehavenassistedliving.com. That's pinehavenassistedliving.com for more information. Now, back to the Level Up Life.
Yeah, it's always interesting. Like it's funny because like you have, so E4 in the Army, you can be one of two. You're either a specialist or a corporal. It's really weird because a corporal, you're like kind of like a junior non-commissioned officer. And honestly, like the majority of specialists I knew that had it, you didn't want it. What it meant was a sergeant could pawn his duties off on you, but you didn't get paid any more than the specialist did. So like CQ, you had to have a non-commissioned officer. You had to have an NCO there. Corporal's technically an NCO. So the number of times we had a couple corporals, sergeant would be like, "You're up, bud. You're doing my CQ for me." Poor kid. He's not getting paid any more than the specialist that can't do it. So
Right.
you, as a specialist, you were like, "Man, I don't do a whole lot of CQ because we got privates for that." And it was always low man totem pole, right?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I remember coming back from Afghanistan. I came back as a PFC, but I knew like I was about to get my 4 when I got back, and I knew it. So it was one of those things I was like, I can't wait to come back and ruin the lives of these other privates. Right? Like that was my mindset coming
Initiating.
Yeah,
right?
because my life sucked as a private, right? And I mean, rightfully so. Like that was, part of it. And I look back and, part of me, I think part of my outlook on the Army when I got in was ruined and tarnished by some of these specialists and E4s that were in because they hated their lives so much. And it was always like, oh, screw this unit. And it was like, man, I wish I didn't get that part. Part of me wishes I would have gotten some, like maybe some that were a little more like about it. And maybe I could have had a better outlook right away.
Right.
But it is what it is.
Yeah. I mean, it's fair, right? I mean, everything makes us and shapes us.
Right.
And rare is it where things are just as we expected.
Yeah.
Especially when it's this goal that we set so far out. Like, yeah, I'm going to do this. I mean, it's my oldest boy was going to be a cop, wanted to be a cop. And I mean, his behaviors, but he was still like, that's fine. I graduate. I make these changes. And I'm like, he's always had a problem with blood. Like, what happens when you show up to an accident? Doing anything else didn't faze him. When I mentioned the blood, no shit.
Didn't think about it.
I guess I got to sit down and kind of reevaluate if I want to be a cop. He's plumbing pipe fitting for a union now.
Yeah, I mean, it's it was crazy. I don't know. I look back like
I think some of that stuff though, like the initiations that are unwritten, and even the experience going through boot camp or before you got to basic, where it's like you're up for that long. I think a lot of that though contributes to probably the resiliency. And the mindset, where because you need that if you're in active combat and you're, I mean, did you ever end up at, like, I think of Afghanistan and I think of the mountains and the terrain, get stuck out there for days, like.
Yeah, I mean, one, I'll say this: there's parts of Afghanistan that are super pretty, but one and two, they don't tell you about the snow. A lot of snow up in the mountains. Like, I remember knee deep snow one time. We got pictures and stuff of like a snowman we built.
Heaven.
Yeah. We got pictures of like, so we had a big snowball fight one time, right? I mean, there was a lot of snow, but yeah, I mean, it definitely, some of it I think was unnecessary, but it's just, it's the torch getting passed. That's what it is, right?
Yeah.
But to an extent, yeah, I mean, there was always that, like, I'll say, like, the Army, like, in basic, they destroy your mindset. Like, you're nothing. And it was almost like restarting, though, too. Like, you got to basic, and that happened to you. Then you got to your unit, and it happened again. And, I mean, so it was, we had this thing called qualifying. So it's qualifying, like a koala, where you would have new private go upside down on a tree trunk, and he had to hold himself there. May or may not have seen some guys pee below them when they're sitting there. A little extra motivation to hang on tighter. Like, some stupid hazing shit, right? But yeah, I mean, a lot of it helped because, like, you're out in the middle of nowhere. And I mean, there's times that, like, I remember we had a patrol base. So we'd go from our cop to our patrol base, and our patrol base, we'd have like a squad there. So maybe 9 guys, give or take. And there was one point where, like, some of our guys went out to do set up an OP. So they were observing something that we were going to go see the next day. There's 2 of us left back at the trucks. And all I'm thinking is, like, one, you want to know what's sketchy? Sitting out in the middle of a war zone, you and one other guy, and just watching shit around you, like, what the fuck? Like, and we had an Afghani. So when I was over there, you have an Afghan National Army that was, like, attached to you all the time, right? You didn't go anywhere without them. And I remember as we're sitting there, the Afghan Army guy they left with us, like, kept asking us really weird questions. Oh, how many guys went out again? When are they supposed to be back? Like, oh, this is fucking odd, right? Like, we didn't have an interpreter, so you're kind of getting, like, broken English out of him at best. And then he'd leave, and then he, like, walked out of our cop, and our cop is literally like these giant sandbags, we'll call them. They're called HESCO barriers, but basically it's big sandbags, right? Super, like, one, there's blind spots. Somebody could easily come up in that thing. Like, if they went over on it, would not have been hard to kill us. And he just, like, leaves and walks into this village.
You're thinking, is he going to talk to?
So now I'm sitting here thinking, like,
oh yeah.
I remember, like, talking to the other guy with me. I'm like, bro, what if he comes back with some guy? Like, there's 2 of us here. Like, yeah, we got a dog, but, like, that's minimal, damn it. Like, she can get 1 guy at best. Like, I mean, we had, we were sitting with the truck, so we had, turrets, but it's like, if it jams, there's a whole lot of bad things could happen here. And our boys are not close enough to get to us, and comms weren't great.
No.
But yeah, it was me and him also, we got in some trouble one time for doing some stuff we weren't supposed to, but we definitely had some fun.
Shocking.
Yeah. It was weird. I mean, I'll say, like, I got lucky being the handler. I was the only dog handler in the area, so I got to do missions with my guys, cav units. I got lucky. I got to go do some missions with a couple, like, special forces guys. That was always fun.
Why do you think they chose you? Were you a dog dude beforehand?
So the theory, if you ask my wife and some people, were because there may or may not have been a housewarming party at my apartment before we deployed. I definitely didn't get drunk at that party. And the movie 8 Below, if you've ever seen it, was on. And I may or may not have cried when the dog died because it's a sad movie.
Right.
Allegedly, that's what got me picked. I don't know for sure. I don't know how it happened. All I know is our company was told they get to pick one guy. It got down to me. It was between me and this other guy. I really don't know why they picked me. Nobody ever.
Were you a huge dog beforehand?
You know, I remember being a kid. I grew up, my dad was a detective. And I remember like meeting the dogs on, and Saginaw PD. And it was always one of those things like, what kid wouldn't want to be? Oh man, that'd be cool. But like, it was never like in my plan type of thing, right? Like I'm joining the Army to be an infantry guy.
Right.
I want to carry a rifle. I want to get in some shit. Like that's what I want to do. So it was not a plan. It just kind of happened. And then I became a dog guy real quick after that.
I mean, you know how much I love dogs.
Yeah.
I mean, big bond. I mean, well before it worked out where you signed your wife up with training with us, where just that initial just shooting the shit. And I was like, oh, and picking your brain and everything else. But I mean, I think that's where our friendship really first started was, hearing a lot about that and just talking because I'm a diehard dog dude. And it just took me any of that German Shepherd look. It just took me in the last couple of years. I loved them growing up. Like you said, all the movies and Rin Tin Tin and stuff. I'm a little bit older than you guys. But my first pit never had any aggression except German Shepherds. And dude, she was my girl. I mean, she lived 15 years old and it was 3 different separate occasions and it was German Shepherds. And I'm like, I mean, it grabbed me. I'm like, yeah, them Nazi bastards. Like, and I hate them too now.
That's all I'm picturing, right? She's like Nazis. That's all.
Like, and it took me a long time. I mean, she's been gone, I think 10 years now. And holy cow. And then my youngest daughter, she said that's the only time she's seen me cry is when I found her getting hit, and I had to carry her. And I think she was on a death mission.
Yeah.
But it took me about 8 years to where I could again be like, oh yeah, Rin Tin Tin, like a smart, awesome dog. Like other than that, my guard would go up. I'm like, man.
I mean, like I did. I loved dogs growing up. I always remember we had this husky growing up named Apollo. I was young when we put him down. God, I had to be 4, maybe 5 years old. But I remember being at the vet when my parents put him down, type of thing. It's weird how you remember weird little things like that, right? Like, but I always loved dogs, and I mean, I don't know. I feel like at home, like we kind of had a revolving door of dogs growing up. We had Apollo. I remember having a lab named Ginger at one point. Don't remember what happened to her. We had a chocolate lab named Hershey that we got rid of. We had a beagle named Lily that we ended up getting rid of. And my mom ended up with a miniature wiener dog, Bandit. I think he lived long just to spite everybody, honestly. But, but I mean, I always liked dogs, right? I mean, my wife and I, Jess and I, we got, as soon as like we got a husky right away. She moved out to Colorado with this husky Apache, and he didn't want anything to do with me, which led to me getting another dog when I got home from Afghanistan.
She told me that story.
Yeah. Now we got 13-year-old Amaya running around, and but it's, I've always loved them, but I never thought it was going to be like a career by any stretch of the means, let alone like a passion like it is for me now. I mean, I got into, like, when I really started training dogs, it was, I love dogs. Now it's the people side I enjoy a lot too. It's teaching people and getting them to help understand their dogs better. That's the cool part.
A lot of behavioral issues with dogs. Is it more of the humans involvement? Like how do we contribute to?
Yeah, it can be in a lot of situations right now. The more I've done this, the more I've started seeing that like genetics play a way bigger part than I ever think I gave them credit for. But you'll see an anxious dog. If an anxious person is holding the leash, it'll be worse. I've got some clients that anxious dogs, as soon as I touch the leash and the owner's out of the equation, dog's anxiety is almost immediately gone. They're like, well, I don't understand. Well, I'm just really confident, and I can read that, hey, like, this is a fear thing. Like, I tell people all the time, you get aggressive dogs, like, it's really usually not aggression. It's usually fear based, right? It's I'm afraid. And I tell everybody, like, at the end of the day, we forget these are impulsive predators that we've brought into our homes, right? They're predators. They are hardwired to hunt and kill things. So when they're scared, they use their teeth, right? Like, and you just kind of got to learn to navigate. One, like, it's a fine line you walk of a correction of, hey, you don't get to do that, while also building trust, and there's no need for that. And then you work with it a little bit, and you get the dog that's all of a sudden like, oh, like, I'm not really afraid of this. Like, I mean, what am I worried about?
Right.
Like, I don't need to show my teeth because it's still working. Like, that thing went away that I didn't like anyway. So it's definitely in the last year and a half, my outlook on the way I train has changed. A lot of it is, I got a new mentor, a mentor of mine that I met and started talking to a lot more. And you'll sit down have a conversation with that guy. And you'll be like, oh yeah, I was doing this with his dog. He's like, oh, why do you think that worked? Oh man, I never thought about the why before.
Right.
Right. And it's like, he has you questioning yourself all the time. And all of a sudden I started looking at this way different.
Yeah. I mean, growth is amazing, and it's so easy to suck in. When we first met, whether or not it's the truth, I felt that I knew way more with fitness than that. And then, you seen when it was, this is what I'm doing, right? He wasn't just work desk. And I mean, leapfrog.
Yep.
And then when it worked out and he wanted me to work for him, I mean, he wasn't paces ahead of me, right? I mean, it was laps ahead, and how much he taught. And it was, because I'm stuck kind of doing and gaining a little bit of knowledge.
Yeah.
But it was his profession. And you just couldn't soak it up enough, because it's way cooler than just being stuck with where you're at. And yeah, this works. Well, and it does. But we can always grow.
Yep.
Always. I mean, the information, and like you said, you can tell you love with myself and then even other people at the gym, how quick and eager, or a lot of people pay, but little things, you're quick to share your knowledge and your insight, which is huge, huge, huge.
Yeah. I tell people all the time, like when it comes to like dog training, there's nothing's new. Like, none of us are making up anything new anymore, right? We're all just new. Like, it's old information that maybe we've learned to word better or whatever, but there's nothing new out there. And right now, like, if you look at the dog training community, there's this huge split right now. One side, you have what's considered like your positive only, positive reinforcement, fear-free, force-free training. And then you have what's called your balance trainers. And I tell everybody, like, what I don't like about either one right now is that if you look at both sides, it's all method based. Everything's about, well, you do it this way. And there's a little whys behind it, but like, nobody really takes the time to actually like in depth think about why. And part of the challenge we have is it's a dog. They don't think like humans. They don't feel like humans, right? There's emotions that we feel that dogs don't. Like guilt is one of them. I tell people all the time, your dog doesn't feel guilty. That look, when you come home, that look you get, that looks guilty. So usually,
Fear.
So usually what it is, the dog did something and they've done it before. You came in the door, and as soon as you saw it, there was the frustration. You're like, God damn it, or whatever, right? And the dog's like, oh shit, that stresses me out. Well, now they did it. You came through the door, and the anticipation of you freaking out started to stress them out already, right? I always explain it's like kid breaks a window, right? He knows when dad gets home. It's on. So dad pulls in. He's already like, oh shit,
Yep.
right? Same thing for your dog. So they're already anticipating that reaction. So they start to get stressed out. So the ears back, like, oh man, no, because they're anticipating what you're about to do. So it makes it very difficult because, like, if you come home and you discipline the dog, it's too late. They already forgot about the thing they did. What you can do is associate it with you coming through the door. Well, you know what's going to happen? You're going to get more anxiety every time you come through that door.
Yep.
Even when the dog doesn't do anything. Because now they're anticipating you coming through the door and, you know, whooping their ass or whatever. Even like loud yelling sometimes with some dogs. Right? It depends on the dog.
So it's a lot to do with, you said, associations.
Oh,
like
yeah.
Making those connections.
Yep. I tell everybody, I mean, to break it down at the simplest level, dogs learn in the simple idea that they do a behavior, the immediate result either reinforces the behavior or punishes the behavior. It's as simple as that. So the reinforcement part's the tricky part because we get in the idea that, like, tell a dog to sit, they get a treat. Like that's reinforcement, right? That's positive reinforcement. But what a lot of people don't think about is there's this thing called negative reinforcement. You hear negative and you automatically think an emotional negative, right? But negative reinforcement is the dog does a behavior and something they don't like stops. So resource guarding is always a good example.
That's what we dealt with Luca.
Yeah. So dog has a bowl of food. Hand comes towards the food. They're like, so they start growling. Why? Because I don't want you to take this. They're afraid of that hand. So they're trying to, how do I get this hand to go away? They growl, your hand goes away. That reinforces the growling. It worked. So it becomes tricky because tell people, like, negative reinforcement will reinforce bad behaviors all the time. I shouldn't say, like, there are good behaviors you can do as well with it, but reactive dogs that are stressed out by people, horrible to deal with in the sense that, you know what happens every time the FedEx driver walks up to your house and your dog's losing his shit at the window, barking and growling at him because he wants him to go away? It gets reinforced. Why?
Because they go away.
Because he goes away. And in our mind, we're like, dude, he's just doing his job, right? He's going to go away. In the dog's mind, he went away because I barked. It is a direct cause and effect for them. So it's always interesting when you start, like, as soon as I start explaining that to pet owners, they're like, you can see, like, oh my God.
The lights go on. Like,
Oh my
it
God,
makes a ton of sense.
Right? Yeah. And so it's interesting because that's where part of the trickiness comes in. How do I, like the resource guarding dog, I don't want to take the food because if I take the food, I just justified his response too, right? Think about it in the idea of if you're walking down the street, somebody comes at you and you're like, man, I feel like they're going to mug me, right? And you get mugged. The next time you're walking down that alley, someone starts coming at you, probably thinking you're going to get mugged again, right? You might get a little more aggressive this time around because you don't want to get mugged.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing for the dog. So it's tricky because I don't want to reward the growling either. That's where you get into the force-free world's least favorite part, and the part you'll probably get some not so fun comments on. That's where the punishment side comes in, right? Positive punishment. I can make that behavior, I can make the growling behavior equal something uncomfortable. It doesn't have to be painful, it just has to be uncomfortable, right? So I can get the dog to growl they growl and then they're like, ooh, I didn't like what growling led to. And then at some point, if that punishment's enough, they want to avoid the punishment more than they're worried about you taking the food. So hand comes in, they're like, oh, this is stressing me out, but I don't want to growl because growling's bad, right? It leads to a thing I don't like. So they'll sit there and you'll see them kind of like side eye. Like, oh, I don't know. And then all of a sudden the hand goes away. Food's still there. And they didn't get that punishment, whatever punishment you want to use, right? Well, holy cow, the food still went away. Well, negative reinforcement still worked for the new behavior of just looking at me too. You know what they also learned? Holy cow, what do I need to be worried about? My food's still here. You didn't take it. So you can start to kind of like gears turn that way too.
Yep.
It's
dog psychology. Man.
It is.
You're a dog psychologist.
Oh, man, I don't want that title.
No, that's what I'm thinking because it's all psychology. Really?
It is, yeah. I mean, a lot of it's a psychology.
Their brains just work different.
Yeah. I had a client come in one day and he made the comment when he went to leave. He was like, man, every time I come here, I learn something new about my dog. And I was like, I am so glad to hear that because that's what this is about. It's about you learning about your dog.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what a lot of people miss with dog training is it's not that, well, I do this with every dog because it works. Well, yeah, it might 9 out of 10 times, but you got a lot of, like, every dog's a little different.
I think that I can relate to that with what you were saying when, like the evolution of training and our knowledge. The more people that I work with and the more experience that I gain actively training, it's like, wow, you just keep piling on more experience, more knowledge, and you become better at what you do because every individual we work with, there's no
there's no cookie cutter.
There's no cookie cutter
Right.
because you could look at dimensions of the skeletal system. We're all slightly different to some extent. So,
And the cues, right? Like,
people respond to cues differently.
and it's always fortunate when you can be around somebody else, It's like, oh, I like that one. Or you're really trying to strip it down, getting somebody to do something right. And where it clicks, and it's like, oh, I got a new one.
Yep.
I got
Bells
a new
go
one to
off
share.
in
Well,
my head.
I tell you what, there's one. So I took, I spent just shy of 2 years selling cars. I was not very good at it. I'll just say that. Definitely things I picked up on, right? And I started looking at it in this sense, like one, like obviously, like to an extent, like we have to be in sales. We're business owners. We have to be able to sell our product and or service to people, right? But if you actually look at it even a little bit deeper, you are selling knowledge, right? Every time you're trying to convince a client why they should eat healthier, why they should do something, you're selling that information to them, that you have to get them to buy that information, because if they don't, they're not going to do it.
Then the result doesn't happen.
And then the result doesn't happen. And ultimately, you'll get the blame.
Mm-hmm.
It happens with me, dog training. I always tell people, you go home, you work with your dog. If they don't put any work in with their dog, they will not see results. I'll get the blame for it, which is also why I pick and choose some clients sometimes, right? Like you have to. But yeah, you get in that idea that you're like, you have to, if you think about it in the idea that I'm selling knowledge, and not sales in a monetary simple point, but selling in the sense that I need you to buy this. I need you to pick up on this. I need you to soak this in and understand the value here.
Yeah.
Not so that you pay me more money, but so that you do what I need you to do so that the results get there.
Yeah.
So that you see why I'm asking you for the money I'm asking you for it. If you look at it in the back sense of from a business standpoint.
Right.
So, I mean, you start to learn what sells certain people and what doesn't, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I change the way I word things all the time based off who I'm talking to, because I need them to understand the information I'm giving. They've already paid me.
Right.
Like I'm not, thanks for the money. No, I don't care if you listen, if you understand what I'm saying or not. No, I need you to understand.
Right.
So I'll change up the way I word things all the time. Yeah. It's just part of the process, right? It's
because ultimately as a business owner, our long-term success is based off of our clients' success and word of mouth. And I know you have a really good reputation around town that doesn't just spring up like that. It's built.
Yeah.
Right. So I really appreciate you coming on the show.
Yeah, absolutely appreciate it.
I appreciate your service for our country.
Appreciate it.
I know Laz does too.
Oh, yeah.
And what you're doing for the community, man, offering your service, because I'm sure there's a ton of people that have better relationships with their dogs because of you.
I hope so.
So I appreciate it.
Well, thanks for having me on. This was excited. Sorry, my voice sucks.
Yeah.
A couple days ago, decided it didn't want to work real well. So
Right.
slowly coming back.
Wow, you're good. I didn't notice anything.
I didn't either.
No, yeah, it's 2 days ago. Woke up and it was gone. So
Sunday at 1:00 every week, new episode airs. Like, subscribe, share with your friends. Thank you.
Sunday, 9 years.